Welcome into the Inside the War Room podcast. This is going to be episode 2, and this one's going to be a little bit different than what traditionally is going to be here because obviously it's been a long and weird weekend for everybody, and I think that it's important for us to kind of go over the events that transpired, unfortunately. So this is going to be a little bit different, but for all of you guys that are new here, make sure you go leave a like, leave a subscribe. We do this at least once a week, if not multiple times a week, as many videos as well. Before I get into this, I do want to say to anybody that's a subscriber or a frequent viewer, I am working on 7-round mock drafts. I know that there's been a lot of requests for it. It's been a long weekend. It's been different things. I had my anniversary. I had the obviously events that are going to come down. So basically, there wasn't time for me to make a video that I feel like the viewers deserve. So I am going to get back into that. Expect one probably tomorrow. Which would be Wednesday, I think Wednesday the 29th. So expect one. Leave a comment down below. I've gotten a lot of requests for different teams, so I'm going to have to figure out which one I want to do. But yeah, so I'll roll the intro music, and we'll get into the next segment. So yeah, we're going to roll that right now.
Most underrated, I took me a break, now I'm back, and I'm sorry for y'all. Thought you was making the plays, now the coach got to tell you we calling it off. I've been the greatest, I paid them away, and they know that I started it off. Oh man, I'm sorry for y'all.
All right, welcome back to the Inside the War Room podcast. And I know it's a little gloomy right now. I think it'll get better as we go on, but it's important to talk about the tragic death of Kobe Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, because it did shake up the sports world, not only just in basketball, because I know this is primarily a football podcast. It's more or less following the draft and the free agency and the offseason moves for the NFL. But I think that if you're a sports fan, you were at least some point affected by this just due to the fact of who he was as an athlete. So, I mean, I'm not going to get too much into it, but it's something you kind of got to mention. I mean, it's a tragic day. It's been very hard already the past few days. One of the greatest things, and one of the reasons I think me, along with probably a lot of you guys out there, love sports is how the world kind of came together for it. There's people still outside of Staples Center. It's already been 2 days. They're still outside of Staples Center just chanting his name and paying their respects and everything, which is so insane to show how much love there is for sports. And I think that it's important for us to kind of look at this as a reminder because, depending on what your beliefs are and everything, like I respect everything with that, but a lot of people say, there's a plan for everybody, and sometimes it seems like it's the wrong plan. You never know. You never know what time is when, and how much time you have, and this was such a. I think the reason this happened, and this is kind of going into other stuff, and I understand that. So if you feel a different way and everything, if you don't want to listen to this, I'm gonna put a timestamps below as well. To where we part to the other stuff, because after this it is all football. But I think that the reason this happened is a reminder for everyone. It's a tragic reminder, but how fragile life really is. You never know when you're gonna go. You never know how it could happen. Kobe was one of those guys where he would ride a helicopter to practice, to the games. He was in that helicopter probably more than helicopter pilots are. That's just who he was. That's what he loved, and he had his own helicopter license. So it's not one of those things like why didn't he drive or anything. It's one of those things where it's he was living life, and that's good. It's good, and it sucks because it's especially for Gigi being so young, having her life ahead of her, a huge successful life ahead of her. From all the great things we've heard and seen from her, it's truly a tragedy. I think it's a reminder to the world, especially with sports, to kind of realize that there's a lot of things that we kind of go over, and we need to kind of control it. We need to be prepared for whatever can happen. We need to love each other. We need to be happy, because you never know when it's going to be taken away, and you never know who's going to be next. You never know what can happen, and it's horrible. It's a horrible thing to think about. I think that because sometimes you live so invincible, sometimes it's a reminder that the invincible aren't invincible. I don't think anyone in this world thought Kobe Bryant was ever going to die, and that's obviously crazy to hear because he's mortal, he's a human. It would happen eventually, but he just seemed like one of those guys where, he already had his first life, and that was basketball, and then his second life was being this amazing father to his girls. And it seemed like he was indestructible. He would not perish no matter what. And to hear it just all of a sudden, it's done. It's tragic. It's a true tragedy. For me, I wasn't really. I grew up on Kobe, but not as much as other people. For those of you who don't know, I kind of got into basketball. I got into it early, like 2006, 2007. I started really, really caring about it in 2013. So I mean, it's a very different dynamic for me because I was more of a football person, which is why I do the football podcast. But I'm a huge basketball fan. I'm a huge sports fan. But to see how much this affected the world is insane to me. When the news officially broke, not only did I see NBA Twitter fans, players break down and have all these different emotions and stories and everything. Everyone kind of came together, no matter race, religion, color, creed, sexual orientation, no matter what it was. Everyone was coming together because this was more than basketball. This was more than a death. This is more than a tragedy. This was something else. And I think that I don't really know where I was going with that, but it was more than basketball. I mean, when I was on there, my favorite soccer team, Manchester United, they were tweeting about it. The first like official like page. It wasn't just like a random person that I saw tweet about this. Was my Manchester United news page that I follow for news about the team and quotes from the manager and all that. They tweeted "Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant," and then after the game, the actual team, Manchester United, tweeted a whole thing about it. And you've seen, Barcelona and AC Milan and all these different teams all around the world for soccer being there for Kobe and his family and showing their respects. With the NBA teams, the 24-second violations, the 8-second violations. Mark Cuban coming out saying no one's wearing 24 ever. Dinwiddie and forgive me, I forget the other player's name that's already. Terrence Ross. They both have changed their numbers from 8 to a different number out of respect. You look at, baseball teams, football teams. During the Pro Bowl, they had a moment of silence. Zadarius Smith got a sack. He went out there. Him and his team shot a jump shot. It was so much bigger than basketball. This was somebody that had it was kind of a model for life, and it sounds kind of crappy to say it, and it's a little shitty, but he was a model for what life can be. He had incredible highs. Arguably the greatest player to ever play. Some people believe that. One of the best players, if not the best, to play the sport. He's broken so many records, broken so many barriers. Olympic gold medalist multiple times. He spoke multiple languages. This guy was insane, but he also had extreme lows, and I don't really want to get into them. We know what they are. He had very low lows as well, and things that some people wish that could be erased from his resume, and some people that want to exploit it, and it's how it goes. But it's kind of showing that, look, like no matter how great you are, you're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. You just kind of have to make the best out of life, and that's what it was. I think that's why so many people loved Kobe Bryant, because it was relatable, is that, his mistake, and those mistakes were huge. They were breaking stories. They were big between even his feuds with Shaq and other players on the team and on the court, and, all these different things as a player and as a person. He wasn't perfect, but yet everyone related to him somehow. Everyone had this emotional connection in the basketball world for him. I think that was because of his imperfection. When you look at a guy like LeBron James, I don't know a negative thing about the guy, to be honest. He opened up the I Promise School. It's doing insane numbers for the children that go there and their academics. He owns a pizza. Or he has a part ownership in Blaze Pizza, and I've had their pizza. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. His family's all together. He's been with the same his wife since high school. I think it's been. They've had children, and they're still together. It's a thing where it's those are the kind of idols that people look up to and aspire to be. But Kobe is one of those things where it's like he was so great, yet he had so many lows as well, and it was relatable. I think that's where a lot of people got their relationship with him from, and the people that knew him personally, they saw the side of Kobe that no one will ever see. I think everybody that knew him personally has a different story. Personally, obviously, I never met him in person. I don't think to myself that I know anything about it, but it's one of those things where it's a true tragedy. It really is. Whether you like the guy, whether you hate the guy, you understand how much of a tragedy this is to the sports world and the fear it kind of puts on a lot of players. I mean, there's a lot of players that sat out. Kyrie Irving didn't play. Chris Paul didn't play. I mean, Larry Nance, who was on his team, had to go back to the locker room because he was in tears. I mean, it truly was something that was so insane to even, like, if you would have said the day before that it was going to happen, no one would believe you. You know, you could probably go in an insane asylum for saying stuff like that because it's just something that couldn't happen. But overall, because I don't want to spend too much time, I mean, 10 minutes, 11 minutes in, we've kind of been talking about it, so I kind of want to run through it already. But it's kind of one of those things where, to round it up, just don't take anything for granted. You just do the best you can with your life. It's what I'm aspiring to do with these videos and this channel, which has grown exponentially in the past, month, which is insane. It's been just over a month since I've really started putting videos up on this channel, and I've grown and seen so much early success, which is so awesome to see. Just to be able to go do that is something that's great. And if you have any beef with anyone, it's been said so many times, but if you have a grudge, figure it out. It's one of those things where, yes, it sucks, and it's a lot of pettiness, it's a lot of disagreement, but it's one of those things where it's so much more important to figure it out now and to go on and try and be the happiest you can be instead of holding those grudges, because it's worth a lot more of your time and of your mind to get through it and to fix it, rather than to never know when that last conversation is going to be and to never know what you could have fixed. Life always has regrets. You're always going to have them, but it's better to try and prevent the ones that you can. So, I mean, just tell your loved ones you love them. Tell your friends you love them. I mean, just be genuine. You never know what's going to happen. Just live your life to the fullest, man. I mean, don't ever regret a day, and just be as happy as you can be. And I think that's the best way to do it. And 13 minutes in, whatever it is now, I think we need to switch topics. And it's not, so we need to switch topics. So we're going to switch gears. So, what a week ago was seen as a very sad thing, especially for Giants fans, who I am a Giants fan as well. Eli Manning retired from the National Football League, which was a huge deal last week. And I think it's huge because it sparks debates, and it's one of those things where it's, is he Hall of Famer? Oh, it's just whatever, Eli Manning was one of the greatest quarterbacks. And as a Giants fan, I know that because I was able to watch him every given Sunday. He gave us 2 Super Bowl rings, which was great. And he stuck with us through all of the crappy years, man. After that second Super Bowl, I mean, the O-line retired, receivers left. A lot of people got bigger heads because they had that Super Bowl. They were ready to go chase their own thing. Kind of, instead of being a number 2 or a number 3, they were ready to go be a number 1. And careers didn't always work out too well for those people. But Eli Manning was a class act. We all know that. He was one of the classiest people to ever step foot on that field. The interviews he always did were just well thought out, well spoken. I mean, when I think of the Giants, I think of Eli Manning, and a lot of that has to do with I wasn't born during the times of Lawrence Taylor, and he's obviously one of my top guys as well. But Eli Manning has been there through so much. I mean, he's taken hits, he's thrown picks, he's done all the bad, he's taken all the criticism, and yet he goes out there every Sunday and gives his shot. The benching with him this year and putting in Daniel Jones, it obviously wasn't what he thought was going to happen. It was probably a thought in the back of his head, but he wasn't expecting it, But that first game that Daniel Jones came in, I mean, Eli was right with him the whole week, practicing with him, helping him out. He was there during the game, just congratulating him, showing him other things, just mentoring him. And Daniel Jones ended up leading a comeback. That was one of the, and it's so weird to say, but one of the craziest moments I've ever been a part of as a Giants fan. The amount of excitement and the amount of I couldn't even sit in my seat when I was watching it happen because it was so crazy to see that the torch had been passed and this is what's happening. And a lot of that has to do with Eli being who Eli is. I think that's a testament to who he was. And when it comes to is he a Hall of Famer or not, of course he is. Is he going to be first ballot? We can discuss that. But is he going to be a Hall of Famer? You bet your damn ass that he's going to be. And I think a lot of people are saying it. I know I've seen Colin Cowherd say it, Pat McAfee say it. I mean, I've seen a lot of people in the sports media world say it. You can't tell the story of the National Football League if you don't include Eli Manning. You can't say that the Patriots lost twice to the New York Giants in a matter of, 6 years, whatever the time span was, 2007 to 2000. Yeah. So, because he was that. I mean, you got to realize that a lot of the discussion is because of the past however many years, pretty much since that second Super Bowl, and it's a lot of the talent around. You know, he obviously was decreasing in talent himself, which as everybody does at that age. But I mean, the receivers were pretty subpar until Odell came. You look at the line. The line was atrocious for years. We just started to figure it out now since that Super Bowl. We haven't recovered. Running game was atrocious. Rashad Jennings, I loved Rashad Jennings. I thought he was a good running back. He wasn't a franchise guy. But you know, after Bradshaw went to the Indy and Brandon Jacobs, you know, his career went where it went. It was a huge difference. You know, you look at all the players in the Giants that are good right now, and it's all young guys. There's no older guys that are on the Giants that are of talent. I mean, Golden Tate, obviously we just picked him up because that's how the team was in such a long rebuild, and I think that it's starting to rear its head. Especially after this, how much money they have in free agency and the draft picks that they have that we'll be talking about all offseason. But Eli, when you think about what Eli Manning was, I mean, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league during his prime. And that's saying something because, I mean, the draft class he came in with Phillip and Ben, he was always compared with them. And then when he beat Brady twice, you know, he was compared with him, and it was his brother being Peyton Manning, the great Peyton Manning, the son of the great Archie Manning. I mean, it's such a huge – I mean, he had the world on his shoulders, especially being in New York, and he handled it to perfection. And he had such a storied career, most consecutive starts, especially with how it ended. I mean, it's just – that was kind of a testament to his career was, you know, he did everything he could. You know, he couldn't tell Ben McAdoo that he was playing. He was going to start. He couldn't. Ben McAdoo made that choice. He couldn't make the front office do certain things, draft certain players. He just went out there and gave his all, believed in every guy that stepped in that field, and I think that's what showed. So, I mean, losing Eli is, you know, he was already gone, and I've already transitioned to Daniel Jones. I've been a big Daniel Jones guy since we drafted him, since the pre-draft last year. But it doesn't feel right without Eli just because, you know, he's Eli Manning. He's a legend. I haven't known Giants football without him. You know, him and Geno Smith are the only quarterbacks I've ever seen quarterback my Giants. So it's definitely a different thing. But I think Daniel Jones is in a good spot. I think it's a good place to be for the Giants, and I think that we're good. I think that we're gonna move on well. Eli, Hall of Famer. Thank you so much for everything you've done for every Giants fan out there, every kid that grew up wanting to be you, wearing Eli Manning jerseys. You'll see them for decades and decades, and you'll never not see an Eli Manning jersey in that stadium because that's how much of an impact he made on this franchise. So thank you so much for helping me and every other kid's dreams come true watching the Giants by winning us 2 Super Bowls, being the MVP of those Super Bowls, and just showing us all that you can be yourself, you can be classy, and you can still get through everything. So thank you, Eli, for everything for there. So obviously the first 20 minutes of this podcast have not been the best, and it's hard to go through. And I know these podcasts don't get the views that the mock drafts do because those are my main videos. But these are for the fans that are like me. I know for me, when I'm playing video games, I love video games. I love 2K. Not so much of a Madden guy right now. just because this game hasn't been too good. But I'm a big FIFA guy, big 2K. Used to be really big in Call of Duty, haven't been too much. Love Star Wars Battlefront. But when I'm playing video games, I don't like to just listen to the game sound or anything. It gets boring. I love to listen to podcasts. I love to listen to different people's opinions, YouTube videos. So I make this for the people like me, to where if you want some background noise while you're doing some homework, doing some playing some video games, whatever it is, I want that to be this. You can have your own ideas in there. Leave them in the comment section. I love getting in touch with everybody through the comment section. Everything. I think it's a great thing for my channel and for the viewers as well and the listeners. So that's why this is so important to me for this thing. So obviously this wasn't the best, most exciting start, but I think that everybody listening probably realizes why it had to be done, because I wouldn't feel right if I didn't. And, I know these don't get the reach that the other videos do. So even for that, for those of you that do watch or listen or whatever it is, thank you so much for listening. It does mean a lot to me. So now we're really getting into the football stuff. 21 minutes in, I'll make sure to make a timestamp of that. But I guess we'll move on to the Super Bowl. That's pretty much the next on my note card. We got the Niners and Chiefs, and it's coming up this Sunday, and it's going to be an exciting one. It's one of those things where I think that I have no clue. This is one of the Super Bowls. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, and I know a lot of my friends are, I would not know who to put money on in this game, because you got one hand, Mahomes is just Mahomes, man. I mean, just the things he does are insane. One of the best quarterbacks we've seen in league history so early. The young success he's had is just astronomical. It's insane. With Kelsey being the unarguably best tight end in the league right now. With Kittle ready. I mean, even Kittle keeps talking about how much he looks up to Kelsey and how much Kelsey's changed the game for tight ends, which is crazy. But Kelsey being the best tight end, Tyreek Hill being the fastest receiver and probably the fastest person in the NFL. With how many times he catches up to Damian Williams on those touchdowns. But you have such a strong offense. Even Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman. You have such of a strong offense against the craziest combination of defenders that we've ever seen, and it just works so well. I mean, young Nick Bosa is already one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Quan Alexander came back from injury. He's been very solid for them. Richard Sherman's having a throwback performance this season, just playing out of his mind. I mean, these guys are really coming together and being such a good team. So it's really a battle of offense and defense. And when you look at the other side, it's literally the same story flipped around. The 49ers offense is good, but no one's scared of it in reality. Mostert's is pretty solid. Coleman's hoping to get back on the field for the Super Bowl. He's doing everything he can. But what Mostert brings to the table. You know what Samuel and Sanders can do. They're solid receivers. They're good. They're not Julio Jones. They're not that type of great, but they're good receivers. Kittle's a threat. We all know Kittle's a threat. Garoppolo's a solid quarterback. I think he fits that system so well. And Shanahan has the play calls ready to roll with a pretty solid O-line as well. So it's a good offense. It's not what will win. It's not what they're in the Super Bowl for. Their offense isn't the reason they're in the Super Bowl. It's that defense. Then when you flip it around, the Chiefs' defense isn't the reason they're in the Super Bowl either. It's that offense. Tyrann Mathieu had a revival year for the Chiefs. His tenure with the Cardinals fell short because of off the field stuff. Then you look at the Texans; they didn't get him and all that kind of stuff. So that happens. Chris Jones is battling injuries, but he's saying he's ready to play. Frank Clark got that big payday that not many people expected him to get, especially not from the Seahawks, but from the Chiefs, and he's lived up to it, especially in the playoffs. You look at their secondary, you really can't name anyone outside of Kendall Fuller at the corner position, and their linebackers. I couldn't tell you a good name for a linebacker, even knowing as much as I do. Obviously, I can, but it's just a testament to how their value is. So to see that the teams are very mirrored, to where the one offense is great, the defense is great. The other offense is good, the defense is good. It's one of those things where I have no clue where this is going to go. If I had to make a guess, I would say I have the Chiefs going out on top, just because that offense has been insane. They started off slow these past two games, which is weird because they usually start off hot, and they've just not looked back. They've been going off, and I think that it's such a huge thing for Mahomes. I think he wants this, especially being so young. Kelsey, getting up there, kind of reaching towards the end of his prime, which is crazy to say because he's literally the best player at the position. But age-wise, he's nearing the end of that prime. Tyreek Hill, I mean, these are all guys that are very hungry and just as hungry on the other side. But I think the 49ers are a great team. I think that they just can't keep up with the scoring that the Chiefs can do. And that's pretty much any team in the NFL. I don't think any team could match up with the scoring of the Chiefs because of how dynamic their team is. I think that I'd pick them, but it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be one of the most fun Super Bowls to watch. I just pray to God that it's not another Rams Patriots Super Bowl, which it has the chance to be, because these teams are juggernauts. This seems like it could be a close game, but I'm hoping for excitement. I'm hoping for fun. I'm hoping for the best, and I think that's what we're gonna get. Because I think that these teams are good. I think that this is a very, very solid Super Bowl, and I don't think anyone's disappointed with the matchup. Personally, I wanted the Titans in there. My prediction was, after a while, was Titans-Packers, and it didn't turn out that way, which, yes, was it a little bit of wishful hoping? Yeah, I didn't think the Packers would get smacked the way they did, because they got smacked. But, yeah, I had the 49ers. 49ers have every bit of a chance as the Chiefs do. If I had to put my money down, I'd put $1 down on the Chiefs. I wouldn't do anything more because I'm not confident enough. But it's something to watch. It really is. I think it's going to be interesting to see where Sherman lines up, because speed is the reason why the Chiefs are how they are. I think he might need to take Kelsey, which is kind of weird, but I think he might need to take Kelsey in order for something to happen. I mean, he won't, obviously. I think he'll be on probably Sammy Watkins. But Tyreek Hill's got the speed to burn past him. Sammy Watkins has the speed. Mecole Hardman's got the speed. I think Quan will do a good job with Kelsey, but it's just one of those things where it's gonna be interesting to just watch from a non-fan perspective, to just kind of see, this is how they're attacking that. This is what they're doing wrong. This is what they should do better. Just kind of picking up the game and seeing what you can pick up on. So I mean that's kind of where I'm at with the Super Bowl. I think it's gonna be great. I can't wait to watch it. I'm gonna be having friends over. We're gonna have a good time. It's an event. The Super Bowl is really an event. It's not just a game, and it's kind of a celebration of the year in football. It sucks ass that it's the end of the football season already. I mean, Super Bowl is this Sunday. There's only a couple more days of football until we got to wait another long and gruesome offseason. Because once the draft's over, it's slow hauling, man, and that's the worst part about football season, is that I love the offseason up until the draft. The road to the draft is awesome. That's one of my favorite parts of football. But once you get past the draft, it is slow, man. There's not really much development. You kind of just wait for OTAs to start, and you don't really care about OTAs. You don't care about the preseason. It's a good look, but it's nothing exciting. So to wait those months it's gruesome. It's a long summer, especially for people in Arizona like I am, where you can't really go outside and enjoy your time. So a lot of time spent inside, TV, YouTube, whatever it is. You kind of got to figure out your own stuff, and it sucks that there's not football on for that, obviously. I think the XFL will be on, so that maybe that'll be something to look at. Hopefully that's a decent league, but we'll see where that goes. But overall, Super Bowl, if I had to pick Chiefs, I think it's going to be fun, and I hope that it is, and I hope that we get to talk about it next week and just go over all of the best, the highs, the lows, and everything else from it. So that's my Super Bowl preview, and from there we'll move on to the last segment, where it's kind of a couple segments in one, and it's just kind of something I put together. I don't have notes for it. It's kind of just a brainstorming kind of thing for me, and I kind of want to see what you guys think, anyone that's listening out there. I'm calling it Draftee Convos, and what that is I'm picking up some storylines that have been kind of floating around for the specific position that we're picking, and just kind of seeing where it's at. I might switch it up, and maybe it won't be positions. It'll be top stories, wherever. But right now, we're going to do the quarterbacks. If you haven't seen my quarterback ranking video, I did that a couple weeks ago. It probably has changed already since then, like most of my mock drafts and everything do, because, I mean, it's constantly changing. Every day it's something new. There's new information. But what I'm doing here is Draftee Convos. I got some situations that are being talked about, and we'll see what I believe on it. So I'll start off with a guy that everyone was enamored with this year, and I thought he was going to be the Heisman. Obviously, no one expected Joe Burrow to be Joe Burrow, and if Joe Burrow didn't exist, it was possible that he was the Heisman. But Jalen Hurts had such a bounce-back career in Oklahoma this year, and it was amazing to see. He had such a great showing, and I think nobody is doubting the fact that there's a solid possibility that he could end up being a starter in the NFL one day. But a lot of people don't see him as a first round talent. A lot of people see him as maybe the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh best quarterback in the draft. And it's one of those things where storylines have popped up that maybe teams are going to look at him at the end of the first round and stuff. So basically, what do I think about Jalen Hurts being in the first round? I love it. I think that Jalen Hurts I don't think he's Lamar Jackson, but I think that he can be compared to Lamar Jackson's draft scouting kind of thing, to where people didn't believe in him. And people don't believe in Jalen Hurts. They think it's a one-year wonder, and I agree because, I mean, it's what it is. But he wasn't the best in Alabama. He had room to improve, and then when he got into the Oklahoma style, he did well. And there's two, we have the Kyler Murray and the Baker Mayfield out of Oklahoma, where Baker has shown a little bit of struggle and inconsistency, where Kyler kind of got that college system into the NFL, and it's been blossoming. So it's kind of that weird thing where if a team kind of sets it around him, will he be good? I think that he'll be great. I think if Hurts can get into a system where they are willing to do what John Harbaugh did, what the Cardinals did in hiring Cliff Kingsbury, I think he'll be good enough to have a starting job. I think he's explosive enough. When you look at what happened to them during the LSU game, it's unfortunate. It really is, and it's an testament. I think he's better than what was shown there. I think he had to carry the team a lot, which it was just LSU was just such a great team this year that I don't know if anyone was going to beat them ever. Even Clemson, I had no chance of them beating them. Obviously, it was closer than I thought for a while, but do I think he could be a first-round talent? Yeah, heck yeah. Lamar Jackson went 32, if you guys don't remember. The Ravens traded into the first round, which really got me mad because as a Giants fan, I was really hoping, because once I saw he was falling out of the first, I'm like, oh, Browns already took Baker Mayfield, so the next person on the board is the Giants. They'll take Lamar Jackson. He'll be behind Eli, and we'll go from there. And then they swooped in the first round and did it. I don't know if that was actually going to happen for the Giants. It was a hopeful thing for me, but now I definitely wish it would have happened, even though Will Hernandez is a beast for us. But I think it's one of those things where quarterbacks always go early. Usually, if a team wants their guy and they don't know if they're going to get him, they're going to make sure they get him at the time that they think it's right. And I think that if Jalen Hurts is able to impress somebody and they're willing to go through something to where they can build an offense around his talents and what he can do, I think he'll be solid in the NFL. I'm a fan of Jalen Hurts. I really am. He's my fourth best quarterback on the rankings, behind Burrow. What's it called? Behind Burrow on the ranking video. Let me preface that because it's switched up. He was my fourth best on there, behind Burrow, Tua, and Justin Herbert. So those were the guys that I had above Hurts, and then I had Jordan Love right behind Hurts. It's all a lot different now, to be honest. I think Hurts would be moved down to 5, Love would be moved up to 3, Herbert would move down 1. But I think he's a first-round talent. I think that he can be, and I think that a team should be getting him in late first, sometime in the second, because I think he can get into that role. I think that, especially with what Lamar Jackson did this season, being the MVP, and I think this will age perfectly fine. I think he's going to be the MVP. Is you don't have to be the best thrower of the ball to be successful at the quarterback position, which is so weird because that's how it's always been. You needed to be, the Brett Favres, the Peyton Mannings, the Eli Mannings, the Tom Brady's, everybody. Hell, even the Jay Cutlers, they could throw a mean football. They were good. They had a solid job for a long time. Now Lamar Jackson, it's as much about your legs as it is about your arm. Lamar Jackson, especially in the playoffs and in the Pro Bowl and the Pro Bowl games and everything, we saw Lamar Jackson's arm talent is still not there. He looked great this season, and I think a lot of that had to do with the versatility he had with his legs, and Mark Andrews being able to make plays and all these things. But the need is still at receiver for the Ravens because they don't have any, and that was apparent in the playoffs. But I think that a team can build around Hurts. I think that it'll be okay, and I think that a team that makes the pick for Hurts, I think that everyone's going to be watching that very, very closely to see how he's going to progress and see what he can do, because I think he can do it. Now I move on to the next one, and this is another storyline where a lot of people have it kind of as a lock, and it kind of got brought to light even more, especially with the recent news with Phillip Rivers. But Justin Herbert going to the L.A. Chargers. Do we think that is a real thing? I'm putting it up here. I'm not sold because because I'm not sold on Herbert. Herbert was so inconsistent this year. Last year, he would have been a top 5 pick, arguably the number 1 pick last year, and he stayed in, and other guys passed him, and he didn't have that great of a season, and it's lowered him. Yes, he was the Senior Bowl MVP, I believe, had a good Senior Bowl. A lot of the scouts and stuff don't really watch the actual game. They just go there to talk to the players. So we'll see a lot more in the combine and everything like that. He's got the build. He really does. I think he's still going to be the 3rd or 4th quarterback taken. But having him go 7th to the Chargers, I just don't know if I'm sold, because personally for the Chargers, I think that they're in a point where you look at their core guys, I don't think they're in a win now mode anymore. I think they have too many holes. They have to re-sign Hunter Henry, hopefully that he stays healthy. The running back position's a big glaring hole now, because we don't know what you have to bring back. Melvin Gordon and or Eckler. Phillips leaving, you're gonna have to have a new quarterback. Basically, what I'm thinking is that I think that the Chargers are in a better spot of selecting a guy in free agency, signing a guy in free agency. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm stuck in draft mode. I think they have a lot of holes to where they would rather draft the younger talent at those holes and get a guy like a Teddy Bridgewater or a trade for a Nick Foles, or I like Teddy Bridgewater to LA. I really do. That's somebody that I like. Tyrod Taylor's on the roster. They could even use him if they want to. But I think that the Chargers can go another year at least without drafting a quarterback to be a successor to Phillip Rivers. I don't think you need to go franchise to franchise for them, because they have enough talent on their team to still compete. I just don't think they're a Super Bowl team as we thought they were, a year ago when they were fighting the Patriots. But I think Phillip's gone. Phillip's already moved to Miami or Orlando, wherever the hell he moved. Jay Glazer came out and said that they were done. So it's not official, but that's what's been reported. I think that it's one of those things that I think they'd be better off signing a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, or even taking a Drew Brees year, or whatever it is. I think that they would be better off doing that and drafting with that 7th overall pick. With how the draft looks like it's going to pan out, you could probably get Andrew Thomas or Jedrick Wills or Tristan Wirfs or Mekhi Becton, whichever offensive lineman you want to pick. He's probably going to be there. If not, you have selections like maybe another receiver. I don't think you need that, but you can do that. You could trade down and maybe trade that pick for 2 Dolphins picks later, or the 2 Jags picks. Select a running back like a Jonathan Taylor or DeAndre Swift to fill the shoes there. Get help on the defensive line, in the interior defensive line. Maybe go for a Kinlaw. I mean, there's so many different things that they could do, and even linebacker. I know they use safety as a linebacker a lot, but I mean, there's that offensive line needs help, and there's still a couple pieces away from still competing. And I think Phillip, we know, is not the man for that job. So I think that instead of blowing up everything and drafting a young quarterback, having him develop and having him grow, I think that it's easier to help an offensive lineman grow behind a veteran quarterback, or just a solid quarterback like a Teddy Bridgewater. And I think that's a better situation for them. I think Teddy Bridgewater would be the perfect fit for them, to be honest. That's one of my favorite things. I think that if you take Teddy Bridgewater and at pick 7 you pick offensive lineman Andrew Thomas maybe, that just boosts your team a lot more than I think drafting Justin Herbert and possibly signing an offensive lineman that you might not even work out. So I think their best move is to do that. Personally, let me know what you guys think. I know a lot of LA fans are kind of getting at me in the comment section of my mock draft, saying that if it's not Herbert, then it's not right. That's the beauty about the offseason, is that no one knows anything right now. Until the selections are made, until it's over, we're not going to know, because that's just how it is. Teams do things out of the ordinary all the time. What we all think is the right thing might not be the right thing for them in their minds. So it's all opinion based. I respect everybody else's opinion. I hope you respect mine as well. And I just think that would be the better situation for them. And last but not least, Jordan Love to Indianapolis. That's been a big talking point, and I don't know how to feel about it. I'm a big fan of Jordan Love. I've liked him for the past 2 years, to be honest. He's been a guy to watch, and it's really just a guy to watch in the draft community. And then once you figured out that now he's getting the first round grades, it's one of those things where people have him going to the Saints, people have him going to the Patriots, people have him going, a top 10 even I've seen. So for Love to go to Indianapolis, I like it. I just don't know if it's right. because they just signed Brissett to a couple years. He didn't perform to the best of his ability, but in reality, Funchess was out all year. T.Y. Hilton was out most of the year. So, I mean, his number one guy was Zach Pascal. Even he was injured sometimes. So I think that offensive line is able to support whoever they put back there, whether it's Brissett, whether it be a Jordan Love. I'm worried if you take Jordan Love and Jacoby Brissett has a good year, then you're going to have a problem on your hands, and you're not going to know how to figure it out. But, I mean, Chris Ballard is one of the best GMs in the NFL. Once he took over for Indianapolis, they've just seen a huge bump. Frank Reich is a great coach for them. They've had Quentin Nelson, Colton Miller. They've had such good selections. Ryan Kelly. I mean, they've had a solid time free agency drafting. I mean, he's a great GM. So to have him go to Indianapolis, I don't know how to feel about it. I like it. I think that Love would be a good go from Luck to Love. The last names would be just awesome. A lot of people could just change their jerseys, just cross out the UCK and then put a OVE. But all jokes aside, I think he's a great quarterback. I think that he reminds me of a Daniel Jones type coming out of not talent-wise, but just how he's getting regarded. Because people don't see him as a NFL starter or anything like that simply because he went to Utah State and the level of talent is trash there. And that's what people got to realize, that sometimes players are better than the talent around them, and that's what Daniel Jones kind of proved this year with the Giants, is that even though he has issues, fumble problems, accuracy wasn't always the greatest, he had a very solid season. 25 touchdowns as a rookie it's a very, very solid rookie season. And I think that when you look at Jordan Love, it's kind of that similar thing, is that people are scared because they don't, he's not facing the SEC or the Big Ten all the time, he's doing what he can in the Midwestern Conference, and that's okay. The one thing I loved about Daniel Jones is that you could see his intangibles. You could see his leadership, his ability to run the ball, his ability to throw it well. There's a podcast I like watching, Strong Opinion Sports, where he went over Daniel Jones's tape, and I remember watching it and just kind of watching with him, and without even listening, I knew what he was saying because I was seeing the same things. Daniel Jones would throw like a 50, 60-yard bomb, perfectly pinpoint accuracy, right on the dot where it needs to be, hit the receiver's hands, go down to the ground, and it goes as an incomplete, or it goes bounced up and goes into interception, or he throws a perfect ball and the receiver just makes a bad cut or just gets beat. It's one of those things where, you can't always look at numbers. Numbers are a good factor to take in, but I think that you need to look at everything, the eye test and everything. And Jordan Love has the eye test for me. I like him. I think that he's got incredible arm talent. I think he'd be a really fun quarterback to watch. Maybe him going to Indianapolis would be good. Maybe he could sit another year behind Brissett. Maybe he starts right away. We don't really know with these things. Do I think it's the best fit for Indianapolis? No. I think that if you paid Brissett and you believe in him, I think that you could still build around him. I think taking a receiver here like a Henry Ruggs or a T. Higgins or Justin Jefferson or somebody to that stature, Chanel, I think that you can get a receiver to help out more. Because I don't know if you're going to keep Funchess. T.Y. Hilton's too injured to not get help around him. Obviously you can do a lot of things on defense as well, but I don't think quarterback's the biggest need on this team. And that's why it's weird. But if you like Love and Love's your guy, then you got to go with your gut and you got to go with your guy, and that's what I think they could do. I don't hate the move. I don't hate any of these moves, to be honest. Hurts in the first round, I like it. Herbert to LA, I think it could work. Love to Indy, I think it could work. It's just, is that the best fit for them? We'll have to wait and see, because we don't really know how the rest of this next few months is going to work out. But without further ado, that is the end of this episode of Inside the War Room. I, of course, was your host, Jaden Somani. Thank you so much for sticking with me for the past 45 minutes. If you haven't done so already, make sure to go subscribe on the channel and leave a like on the video. If you didn't like the video, just refresh it, give it another listen, see if you like it the second time. And, of course, make sure you stop by. We should have another 7-round mock draft up tomorrow for a team that I will figure out which one I'm going to put out tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you turn on notifications if you do like my content, and let me know in the comment section what you don't or do like. If you don't like the video, leave a dislike on it. Let me know. It all helps me grow. It helps me get better. So like I said, without further ado, that is going to be the end of it. And I don't really know how to close this out without kind of mentioning rest in peace Kobe Bryant, rest in peace Gianna Bryant, and so thank you so much for listening, and go tell someone you love them.